else, and it is at a standstill. So while it is challenging to date an extrovert, I tend to be drawn to extroverts because they bring something to the table that I don't. Finding a way to make all that magic work. So I want the magic, but then it's the challenge is having it. But if I were dating another introvert, we would probably never talk. There'd be no communication whatsoever. And I don't want that either. I do want someone to challenge me, just not too much.
I've been there.
And I tend to date extroverts too. I mean, every serious relationship, every relationship has been and with an extrovert. So there's something there about the balance that we both bring to the relationship. And same even with platonic friendships. I have two close introvert friends, one who I already see and the other's probably joining, and the rest are extroverts. And my relationships with them are just very different. And I call my introvert friends when I really need to talk about something and work through something and want advice. My extrovert friends seem to rely more on me and call me for those things. So, and I love being that person. Okay. So we're touching on a lot of things here, but our number 2 is understand that I may need a little time to be alone in my thoughts. How do we deal with that when your partner wants that quality time and wants to be with you from on a Saturday from 8 a.m. to all night, and you need a little quality time? Andrew, whose wife Jen is also with us, can't wait.
Oh, this is about to get fun. Here we go.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like, ooh, me. So Jennifer actually is kind of on she's an ambivert. Yeah, but she tends towards introversion, and that's kind of shifted for her over the years. She gets up pretty early in the morning, and this woman can bake a cake by 7 o'clock, and I'm still like trying to figure out where my other slipper is. And so I'll get up and I'll come out where she's having her coffee and doing stuff, and she'll just start like boom, 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 and this and that, and she's been thinking and she's ready to go. And I will be like, and it's not just a matter of waking up, like I'm still waking up. It's also the introvert part of me that's like, and I wonder sometimes about the speed dimension for introverts and extroverts. Like, do extroverts tend to move at a faster speed? Because I need things kind of slow. I don't know, in your research, Jeri, and all your time that you've been so immersed in this world, if that's ever come up, but I tend to feel like I'm running behind Jen trying to catch up, and she's this whirlwind, and so she'll get up and she'll really be hitting me, and I'll kind of be like, okay, wait a minute, I need to take this in a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Anybody else, or anybody with an extrovert partner who needs a little space or a little time alone?
I had one several years ago, it's since ended, but yeah, it was the same way where, it was always go, go, go. What's the plan for tonight or the weekend? And, it was like, yeah, I might say yes to something on Tuesday, but by the time Saturday rolls around, I probably am not gonna, or I might not be in the same mental space. And I just sometimes need to have that alone time. So in those cases, I was actually fairly okay and comfortable just saying, you know what, I need my alone time tonight, and I do not want to infringe upon your plans or your friend, enjoyment. So why don't you go out and I'm comfortable enough in our relationship that we can have a night apart and still come back together and understand each other, just pick up right where we left off. So I think
was he comfortable enough in your relationship? I'm sorry, Jeri.
That was my question.
Yeah, because most of my mates, I tried that and I think we're good. And then the next day I'm like, he's angry, he's mad, he's bitter. What happened?
I think that's, probably each relationship is different, obviously. But for me, it's always just been like, I'm cool with that. And I need honesty. So if you're not okay with that, just say something in the moment, but I don't want to have to like live to experience the wrath on Sunday morning for, choosing to spend the night apart.
And that's what I was thinking, Darrious, is that it's like, if you're okay saying that and comfortable and confident enough to say that, how does the partner feel? You know, are they staying in the moment? Okay, but then they're resentful and mad about it the next day. Then that's not good.
Well, by the time they get home, I might be in a, you know,
A make it up to you kind of mood. Fair enough. All right. So Sunday may never even be an issue for you. All right.
And I was talking to someone recently about this, and I, you know, referenced coffee, but I'm going to reference like something else, like bread or something. How, you know, I was telling her about, you know, we just need to, you know, sort of be ready. And so if we are exhausted from whatever happened, a day full of Zooms or whatever the issue is, and we are just depleted, and you want to hang out, but I don't want to hang out because I'm just not there. But let me get my time, let me get my nap. And then later, you know, I'm fresh and ready, or the next day. And I talked about a pot of coffee, how, you know, everybody loves it. I'm not a coffee drinker, but everybody loves it when it's strong and hot and a fresh pot of coffee. And then nobody wants it when it's just a little bit in the bottom and it's been sitting there all day. You know, you want a fresh pot of coffee. So it's kind of like, just give us that if we're asking for that, or understand that we need that, whereas you may not. Okay, so number 3, accept that my heart and my behaviors, such as like public displays of affection pre-COVID, may not immediately display on the surface, but you know, I still like you. I still love you. If I'm not showing it in the way that maybe the movies show it, or TV shows it, or the way your last girlfriend showed it, it doesn't mean I don't like you. It's just the way I show it is demonstrate it is different. Anybody have anything on that?
So hand-holding gate is what we had when we were first dating. My husband was a hand holder and I was not. And I just remember it being a thing, like, I'm like 30 years old, I'm not holding anybody's hand. But it was also, maybe I did have a bit of discomfort and was being pushed on it, a little bit of discomfort around PDA. I hadn't even had a chance to think about it. Now I hold his hand. So I've gotten I maybe more comfortable with him, because when we were dating, I don't know you like that, so I don't necessarily want to hold your hand. But yeah, for sure. I again, when we talk about the negotiation between him being an extreme extrovert and me, you know, being introverted, like how can we, you know, come together and feel good? And also thing that he does sometimes, I don't think he means to be stunty, but he's the type of guy who will, like in our first date, he had roses brought to the table for dessert. So then everybody's looking at us at the table, and you know, that's, I want to go crawl and run, you know, in the corner. But now I've gotten used to it, and I say thank you, I appreciate that. Those gestures are sweet, but I certainly had anxiety around that. But to his credit, when he proposed to me, he didn't do it in front of a bunch of people. It was in a suite in Santiago, Chile, and it was just us, and it was a 4-course meal, and it was very beautiful. And that it was perfect for me because I didn't want it to be in front of a whole bunch of people. So I think he's learning my style too.
Love that. Okay, the next thing we've kind of already talked about needing to attend every event with you. So we have covered that.
I want to add something about that
Yes,
because something
Keni.
came to mind about
Sorry.
negotiating. So one thing I think is important to add to is that, like, for example, my husband's also, he's an introvert as well. And up until that point, I had only dated extroverts. And I think it's important to recognize that just because you may be paired up or partnered with another introvert, that since we have a spectrum, that that you can still face some of the same challenges that you might face with an extrovert if you're with someone who's maybe a more, you know, higher on the spectrum for being closer to an extrovert. So my husband has a huge family. So the first year we got married, his family meets in California, in LA, every other year. and the entire family comes down and they fly, all across the country, and they're legitimately like with each other for 2 weeks nonstop, and they have a schedule, and that's a lot for me. And so the first year that we did that, I was like, look, I'm happy to go, but we need to have our own rental car, because I can't. Introverts need their car to escape.
You need an escape route.
Exactly. And I was like, I can't do 2 weeks. You can stay for 2 weeks, but I can only stay for one, and we have to be okay with this. And somewhere on day 3, I thought I was fine. And we have to stay in our own hotel, because a lot of the family was staying in the same house. And I was like, I can't. That's so much togetherness for me. But like on day 3, we got to the point where I was starting to get that face that we get when we've run out of all gas, right?
Yes.
And they were getting ready to break and like go to like the evening events. And I like looked at my husband. I was like, I'm having a good time, but I've hit this wall where I don't have any more energy. And what I would really like to do more than anything else is to stay in this room, to order room service and watch a movie. And you can just catch me. You can stay as long as you want. I don't care what time you come back, but I just need this time and space. So he's gotten used to me. Like, we negotiate family space, because that's a thing for us, both introverts, but he grew up with a large family and I didn't. And
it's also
so
important, I think, to have a partner who goes to bat for you when you do want to stay in, who's not going to throw you under the bus with mom and dad, who's going to be like, look, she's an introvert, you got to understand, not everybody does, and to actually play a part in like educating, people in your life about your personal preferences and who you are.
No, it's so important. And you know what? When he came back, then when it was time to go out to all those other events next day, I had some time to recover.
Yes.
And so I was able to like engage and feel like I wasn't having to like force it and put on a face. And I just really appreciated being able to negotiate that together, and just being able to like have a boundary, but also still being able to get to know folks on his side of the family, and also having someone to be able to kind of cover for me until the next day.
Yeah, totally.
And Jeri, I think that's what it's never going to be perfect, but as Keni, your story, I went on this journey. When you talked about the family, I could feel my entire throat tightening, like just naturally. Then when you talked about your partnership with your husband, I went to, oh, that's what I want, that comfort to lean into. And I think about this, for those of you who know her, she's on my mind, Jasmine Sullivan. She has a song called Let It Burn, and it begins with, I want to be good to you, baby. And that's all I think this boils down to. I want a partner. There's always going to be some bending and ebbing and flowing, but I want him to want to be good to me. And I want to be good to him. And part of that means he's going to go, oh, let me remember. I missed it yesterday. I don't get it perfect every day, but I'm really trying. I'm focused. You need a break right now. Or we're in an event, he goes, you good? You good? You good? And then I am at an event, and I know he's having a really good time. And at this specific event, he wants me there, and I will muster a little more energy. But he's always aware that to some degree there's a sacrifice we are making the choice to make for each other. Because he's never, introverts, I like them. And there are things about them I can never be. But to date one, if he could really, I just want you to want to see and hear me and protect me and support me. And by doing that, it encourages me to return that favor. Yeah. So as you were talking, Keni, I was like, oh, that's it. That's it in real time. Mm-hmm. You're so congrats again. That and 55-degree weather. Yay, you.
But on the flip side of that, I think to your point, Darrious and Christina, I think you both said this, like having extroverted friends. Like I tend to have a ton of extroverted friends. It wasn't until recently, I feel like I started to meet other introverts that we really clicked and wanted to keep in contact with each other. But I think one of the good things is about having an extroverted friend is that they kind of push you sometimes like out of your comfort zone, and they kind of pull you in sometimes when you're trying to stay out, like, just come on, try it. Like, just give it a try, or, apply for that job. Like, what are you kidding me? Like,
Yes.
you have what it takes.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like your hype person sometimes, and everybody
Sure.
needs a good hype person.
Absolutely.
I always call my best friend my hype man. Like, it's just,
Yes.
like,
It's absolutely,
he's an
and that's why
extrovert, we go out to
having,
bars, and it's just like,
yes.
I'm never the one to like do the approaching.
Yeah.
And he is, like, he has that just like je ne sais quoi. And so he's a fun wingman. It's like, okay, like, he knows kind of how to prop me up in areas that, he knows that I'm good at, but I don't always see them in myself, and spark that conversation. So it's good to have extroverts as your wing people, for sure.
Yes.
We love them.
Thank you, everybody. So our next one is, understand that when I don't have an answer to your impromptu question, it's probably because I'm still processing it and thinking it through. It doesn't mean that I don't like you, or it doesn't mean it's rejection. I'm still processing. And I've noticed this with myself. Like, if you say to me, pre-COVID, let's go to the movies tomorrow. So an extrovert will probably say, okay, yeah, I'm in. But me, my mind is going about, okay, it's Saturday. What am I doing? Okay, I'm getting my hair done. And then I need to do this. I need to go to the grocery store. I need to do this. What movie does he want to see? What time does he want to go? Which theater does he want to go to? Because I don't like that. All of this is going through my mind, which may sound crazy, but that's what happens. And so it'll take me a minute, and then I'll start asking questions. Well, where do you want to go? What time? What do you want to see? And I think sometimes it can be taken as something else, like, you don't really want to go to the movies. No, I do. But my mind is just going that. And through some of the research, I found out that it is about our neural pathways, and that introverts have a longer neural pathway. And so when information comes in and we process it, we're bringing in long-term memory, we're bringing in our feelings, we're bringing in all of these things as it's processing through our brain before we come up with an answer. Versus extroverts have shorter neural pathways. So they're like, yeah, I'm in. What time? Where are we going? And so it's just that we are different. So has anybody else had an experience with that? And I think all introverts process differently as well. I think I'm a slow processor, but there are some introverts that process quickly. So what about that? If you don't have an answer right away to a question?
This is a little, maybe a little bit off, because it's not that answer to the impromptu question, but it does have to do with kind of being put on the spot in a way.
Yeah.
And I think I've heard this about introverts, that changes in plans. And a little bit of that was what you were saying, Jeri, about you want to go to a movie, let me think through the day. When my wife introduces something that's a change in plans, even if it's something really fun and really great, my initial reaction, and this is just me, but my initial reaction is usually I feel overwhelmed. Like, that's the way it hits me, is I've got some kind of plan in mind for the day, and then something is interjected into that, and I kind of go crazy. And so I think we're getting better at working through that. I'm looking over at her.
Are you checking with her to see if she agrees?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we working through this? I need to take another drink here.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, she's saying that, she's kind of learned, thank God that I have this partner who is very highly aware, and we're able to navigate these things. So she is coming to me more and learning the timing of it, when to approach me about things. And oh yeah, she said this morning. She had a couple of things that she wanted me to do. And she said, I'm not sure how this will fit into your plan. In the past, I think she would have said, okay, I need you to do this and I need you to do this. But this morning it was, there's a couple of things that whenever they can fit into your plans, and not a big deal. But, for a long time, I would just get overwhelmed with it. And so we had to talk through it. I think that idea of having a partner, I loved what Keni said about her husband has her back. And I saw some comments that people were saying, yeah, that's the best. When you have a partner that is able to help you, to work with you, and together navigate through this, and it takes some awareness about your preferences, and that's a huge gift. What an amazing thing for me to have someone who won't get upset or have some kind of reaction, but instead say, all right, let's figure this out together.
Mm-hmm.
Jeri, can I jump in? Go ahead, Christina.
Oh, I was just going to say, just to kind of jump on that question in the way of, if I think back in my dating life, things that were impromptu, or the series of extroverted cancers that I would date who would be late to everything, like that would throw me into a tailspin. Like it was the crux of a lot of disagreement, argument, because I interpreted with my long pathway around, you're disrespecting me, you don't respect my time, you think I'm not worthy. It was just all of this piled onto a person's habitual pattern of being late. And while I don't have that in my marriage now, my man is certainly prompt and on time all the time. I have it with a good friend of mine who's extroverted, who I've known since high school. And so now what do I do for myself and my own sanity? I say, well, we can't do the movies. That's not an activity that we can do because she's never on time for it, but we can do other things. So I'm going to avoid feeling the way that I feel and putting that on her in our relationship. So
that seems very healthy and mature.
Thank you.
Can I give a real-time example? I'm going to share, because this group is like my family. 2 weeks, last Saturday, a week ago today, I canceled a virtual date. And I'll tell you why. We were supposed to see each other for the first time. We had some online dates, and he was late for 2 of them and missed. And there's always a good reason. I just want to paint the picture. Always a good reason. But then when it was time for the virtual date, we set it up. I sent the Zoom link. We talked about it. We talked about the time. And then at 7:03, at 7:03, I'm sitting here looking at myself, looking kind of good for, the 15 extra pounds, pulling it together, proper lighting. And I'm just looking at myself and my dogs. And then I get a text message. Send me that link again. You mean the one right here in the message just above what you just sent me in both of our notes? Okay, fine. So then, and this is he's lovely in all other ways. We had conversation, but then this is where, to Andrew's point and to Christina's point, he said to me, I don't think I have Zoom. Do you have WhatsApp?
What?
And I wrote back, no, I'm going to go walk my dogs and watch Netflix. Maybe we'll talk next week. And I still have his last email. I'm so sorry. I just don't know. At that point, my introvert self, you have just put me into a tailspin of emotion. And so I'm taking both Christina and Andrew. I will feel what Andrew feels, and I will do what Christina does. I'm not putting myself in the position, because had we got on this call, it would have been such a horrible experience for you, sir, because like Keni, when I am shut down, I know it's happening, and there is no turning it around. So that's what that is. And then the part about processing, do you wonder if when we're processing questions, because extroverts can answer things because they're not as concerned about usage of energy as we are.
Right.
Our energy is finite. So I find myself, when I'm asked the question about going out or doing something specifically, I go, how much energy is that going to take if we go to this theater versus that theater? I have this full day. If I've got a lot of meetings that day where they'll be like, oh, fine, I'll be finished with my 18th meeting, then we can just go. Well, for me, 1, I can only do 15 meetings, and 2, that means nothing at night. So I think for us, a lot of the processing is we're always processing how much energy will that take. It's almost like Weight Watchers points. I feel like I'm doing my count for the week. Do I have enough points here? If I do that, can I take points from this to get that back? If I'm going to do this with him on a date or with friends, then I'm going to not do this meeting or maybe going to work late this day. I'm constantly doing that because I do know when I shut down, I'm done. And it is not good for anybody, and nobody deserves to see that.
Like Jeri said, nobody wants that little cold bit of coffee at the bottom of the pot. So
Right.
I love that
A great
analogy.
analogy.
Darius, I need you to coach me. Because one of the things that I have a huge challenge with is what I admired about what you said was your ability to set boundaries, to say no. And that's a huge issue for me. Like, I behave as an extrovert and sacrifice and surrender my introvert needs massively.
Yeah, I will tell you this, and one, thank you, I received that. Two, I'm in recovery. The price was just too much, and it would just create a self-fulfilling prophecy and this cycle of darkness for me, because I know how I'm going to behave if you push me against a wall. And then now I'm the bad person, because ultimately it is about protecting my space, but now I've allowed myself to be pushed into a situation that I know I'm not going to respond well in. So then I start doing things and behaving in a way that even as it's happening, I go, oh, but I can't stop it. And then ultimately I had to look at it, Andrew, and go, ultimately, who's accountable for the first step that got you to this 15th step? Me. So I have a lot of friends now where the more it happens, the more they get it, but no means no. No is a full and complete sentence. And again, I say to people, this is my service to you. I'm saving you. You do not want to put baby in the corner. you don't want to put introverted baby in the corner. So no, but it's an act of recovery constantly. I feel like I'm always in recovery, always, but I know what happens if I don't. I know the damage that will cause to my sense of well-being, but also to the relationship. When introverts get exhausted and pushed against the wall and feeling like their power is being taken away, even if they've given it away, you all know how we can react. We can hurt people.
And start to feel
we like our words.
Somebody's taking too much of your energy.
Yeah.
Say that again, Jacob. I think that's important.
I was just saying that I think you can get resentful sometimes if somebody's taking too much of your energy or you haven't delegated properly, and whether it's their fault or yours for not doing time management. You don't want to have those feelings against somebody either.
That's the truth.
Wow, this is a great discussion so far. Back to our tips. Communication should be organic. And just because you're with your last partner, they like to be called 4 times a day and they like to be texted 16 times a day and they liked all of these things, please don't assume that everyone is the same. Yes, I'm a texter. I don't probably want to talk to you every day. It just depends. Maybe it just depends on my day. It depends on who you are, what's going on in my life at the time. These Zooms and all of these things are quite exhausting. And for me, I'm on Zoom pretty much all day now, which is annoying as hell. And then after that, when I try to get myself together, I go to bed early, I take baths. So I may not want to talk at 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, but it doesn't mean that I don't love you or like you or care for you or that I'm rejecting you. And so also the communication, whereas maybe when I was off, we were texting and calling more often. And now that when I'm working, it's not as much. So does anything have anything about that with communication, and how do you tell your partner that they need to respect that you may communicate by phone and Zoom and all of these things a little differently than others, but it doesn't mean that you don't like them or care for them or are rejecting them?
So this is a unique question for me, given that my husband and I, we split our time between 2 cities. And so, when he's in Atlanta and I'm in Chicago, We definitely want to make sure each of us are safe wherever we're at. But he's a person, he calls me first thing in the morning, and then he calls me throughout the day between his meetings, but I'm in a meeting. So I'm like, I can't talk to you right now. And then we're talking at night. And I think his communication outreach is probably 5 times what mine is. And so again, we're still in this negotiation phase, because sometimes I get an attitude. I do. I'm just gonna admit it. I'll be like, look, I'm on the phone. These clients are driving me crazy. I can't talk to you right now. I can't. And you calling me. You calling me, you ain't got shit to say. I love you. I do, but you ain't got shit to talk about. So can we table this for later? Thank you. Yes. So I'm trying to do better. That's part of my growth, to do better in the way that I receive his way of communicating. Because I don't do that. I don't call people when I don't have nothing to talk about. So yeah, I'm working on that.
And that's something to think about, because he may need to talk to you 10 times a day.
He does
not. So we keep using this. It's a negotiation and understanding. Darrious, did you want to add to that?
No, everything. As I listen to folks, I have a dream for myself. For the first time in my life, I'm talking about marrying. So I only intend to do it once. So as I'm listening to Andrew, looking over at our friend, his wife, is it Jennifer? Jen, our new friend, as I hear Christina talking at the core of her being about her husband, who I know and who is incredible. So I'm listening to this. And then Keni, I'm just feeling like I'm in school going, wow. It's going to be a negotiation until the end, isn't it? We are constantly going to be working this out in the best of relationships, in the healthiest of relationships.
Well, here's the thing, Darrious, that as you go through those negotiations, you fall in love even more.
Absolutely.
Every time Jennifer and I have a challenge, like, some of the ones that I've mentioned, when we're able to work it through, and I feel so respected and heard and worth working through for, oh man, I mean, I just fall in love with her more every time.
Andrew, I just fell a little bit in love with Jennifer. Where is she?
Oh, you would.
Jennifer, I love you. Set the example, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you should. She's amazing.
Nice. Yeah. Good for you all.
Yeah. So our next one is about, it's kind of the same though, it's close, and Christina kind of covered it, about if I don't answer the call every time you call, if I don't respond to your text right away, and it goes back to either maybe I'm busy, because I'm one of those people who often has my ringer off. And even if it's ringing on, I'm not running to the phone. You will never, ever see me run to the phone. Whoever it is, I figure like I can just call you back. But we've kind of covered that, unless anybody wants to jump in and add any more to that.
I think I'm one of Darrious, I think, is single.
Yes,
As being single on the panel, or even in the group participants.
Me too.
Like the whole, okay, so we're not alone. But like the whole online dating thing, and like apps and the emails and stuff. And it's like, if you get a message from somebody, I might still be interested in you. I might like you, but I want to take the time to respond thoughtfully and well, rather than just a simple like, hey, that sounds great. I want to be able to elaborate, to have an ongoing conversation. And I find that maybe online dating is not great for introverts, it's difficult. I don't want them to think that I'm not interested. It's just, I want to formulate a thoughtful response. And if I can't do that in the moment, you might see that I saw your message and, it looks like I'm ignoring you, but I'm really actually just taking the time so that when I do respond to you, it's worth it.
I needed you guys today. Jacob, my goodness, that is just... For us single folk on this pandemic, my therapist literally just said to me on Wednesday, he's like, this is hard for you this? I'm like, yes, for
Pandemic
that very
dating is
reason that Jacob
so
just said. I'm
hard.
like, I like you, but I need a minute to think about what to say back to you.
Yeah, right.
But you see me on your page ignoring you, and now you feel like I don't like you, but I do.
I see you online. Why aren't you?
Yes, but let me breathe. Back up. And it's
Yeah.
like it's almost what you've been doing in the bar and go, give me a minute. Now it's happening online, and I'm, as you can tell.
Well, if
I'm
you're going to
having
be that
trouble.
way in the first place, we're probably not a match. So hopefully they would understand.
But I'd like somebody to be a match at some point.
I know.
And unfortunately, I think online dating is what we have, and pandemic or no pandemic. And I know on one of my podcasts with Lisa, who's on right now, we were talking about online dating and how challenging it is, especially for an introvert, and thinking about how it's just a menu of options. So this guy is logging on, he's got 50 beautiful women to look at. And then one girl is rock climbing, one girl is jumping in a pool, all of these activities, and they're showing these elements of their lives. And then you got me, like, I like to read, I like movies. I mean, so it's like, I think they just skip right over me and they go for something else. But I am so much fun and I have so much love to give and all of these things. So it's a little challenging for, I believe, introverts when you online date. And so we have to be creative in order to sort of, I guess, be seen. We're going back to that being seen. Either we have to maybe make the first step and reach out and do all of these things. But online dating is definitely here to stay. So we got to figure it out. My single people on the panel. So, next thing, know that when I'm working or even just relaxing, I may respond differently to external stimuli than you. That means less voices, less noise, less movement, less activity, less light, less sounds, but I still like you. And I have to talk about the last person I was dating who, like I said, I always date extroverts. He talks loud. All the TVs have to be on. He's always has to be active. He always has to have on his clothes. I don't wear clothes in the house. I just don't. I need to come in, take it all off. Everything is quiet. Everything is calm. It may be a TV on. It may be some music on, but not a lot of movement. And so he is completely, or he was completely the opposite. And then it's like, instead of just turning the TV down, you're yelling at me over the TV. Turn it down so I can hear what you say. And so that's another negotiation where, you know, we have to talk about, can you take it down a notch without me sounding like a mom saying, lower your voice, use your inside voice. Not really fair to them because they are loud and they're all of these things. So I look forward to marriage one day. So, and I would love some advice too on this from those of you on the panel who are married. How do you negotiate that? And Christina, I have to call you out because I know your husband through you. And so I know he's a businessman and always on the phone and always moving and always doing stuff. And I know you're more like a girl like me in your house with the yoga and your tea and the chilling and the quiet. So what does everybody have to say about that?
So let me just shout out. I love you, Munson, if you're on. Like, I've been sharing our idiosyncrasies, but it's for the people. It's to educate the people. Right. So in terms of like the differences in how we activate stimuli. So to same with you, I don't like a lot of lights. My husband's here. Every single light is on. We are funding ComEd single-handedly. And it is so, it's so much. Like, I'm like, why are all these lights on? The ring lights on, the top lights on. And so, you know, I ask him now, because in the beginning, I just used to shut everything off. And he'd be like, you know, I'm still here. It's like, yeah, I just don't think you need all that light. So I will ask him, can I turn your ring light off? Can I turn these lights off? And now he's cool with that. But I did introduce the term negotiation at the top of this thing. It continues to be, I think, learning that person's style, asking them. So even in a marriage of 10 years, I'm still learning my husband. We are, negotiating space together. He is always on his phone. I'm not a phone talker too tough anymore, because I just don't want the cell phone around me all the time. But he's always having to do business via phone. So in the one thing he does, I'll call him, he'll be on a call with me, and then he's on a Zoom talking to somebody else. So he's talking to multiple people. And I'm like, you know what? Instead of just, because I used to just hang up, instead of just hanging up, which is a little rude, I'm like, I hear you're busy, babe. I'm going to call you back. Because I've called you for something, because I don't call you for nothing. So I'll just talk to you later, because he gets very singularly focused on certain things, but then tries to multitask. So it's fun, because we've come to, the middle on a lot of things. He's picked up yoga. He's more of a cardio person, but he's picked up my yoga. He's picked up my plant-based eating habits. So it's fun, as Andrew was talking about, you get to love your partner more. You get to learn from your partner, more as you go along. So I think it's fun.
Anybody
Keni,
else?
is it fun?
It's interesting because my husband, he's also an introvert, but we have very different needs. Like I'm an INFJ, he's an ISTJ. And so like even
Can you
just like
explain
how,
what that is for people who don't know?
yes. When you're talking about the spectrum of introversion versus extroversion, there are 16, I think there's just 16 different personality types. And so each letter represents like how you fall on the spectrum. So, you're either an I or an E, introvert or extrovert, or you're an S or an I, I'm sorry, for sensor or sorry, intuitive, or you
And
can be
yeah,
a thinker, judger, perceiver. And because our S, and we have two letters that are flipped, the S and the T versus the N and the F, we process information so differently. And so even though we're introverts, the challenge for us is that we have very different needs, or in terms of how things are expressed, how decisions are made. He's much more of like a hands-on, concrete person. He's in the details, and I'm very much operating from this, like, I'm a planner, but at the same time, I'm much more flexible in what that plan can look like. And he's very much like our number one challenge to this day. I'm still trying to figure out how to overcome this hurdle. So if anybody has advice, please chime in.
This feels like church.
I'll make a plan. Like, okay, I'll be like, hey, babe, like, let's do something this weekend. I want to go on a drive to Sonoma. And he's like, okay. And he wants to get more details. Like, so what time are we leaving? How long do you want to be there? And he's very much focused on time. I'm not as focused on time. So we'll get there. I'm usually running a little bit late. And he's very much like, I'm on the nose all the time. But what will happen is if I said, okay, we're going to be here between 2 and 5, he truly wholeheartedly expects 2 to 5, where I'm like, maybe it's going to be 5:45. And that drives him crazy, because he's like, well, I've made this, you told me the plan, and now you're changing the plan.
Wow.
You told me the plan, now you're changing the plan, and this is how much time we've negotiated. So from that perspective, I'm on the opposite end of that, where for him, he's usually trying to get me to stay with this concrete, dedicated plan. And we just have this challenge that we keep repeating, where it's like, okay, I'm having so much fun and I still have energy, so I want to continue doing this thing. And he's like, but no, that's not what we talked about. What we talked about was this, and you're changing the plan. And that's the language he will use every single time. And I'm getting better, because I recognize when an introvert repeats themselves, because we don't like repeating ourselves,
No.
it's something that we really want you to like fix.
Yeah, you want to focus in on that.
So it's like because we're both introverts, I understand that and I peep that. I'm like, okay, I need to work on this, because he's like repeating himself. And so but on my end, I'm just like, well, I'm having so much fun with you right now, so I want to like do this. And so what we've been trying to do to kind of meet some sort of compromise is he just in his mind has said to himself, she's going to take longer than this time that we've budgeted. And I'm gonna be okay with, I'm gonna give her some space to do that because it's coming from a good place. And then on the opposite end of that, for me, I'm like, okay, I know he really wants to leave at 5. So I'm gonna like start pulling it in at 4:30 so I can start preparing my mind that we're about to like wind down. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle. And sometimes I'm a little resentful because I still want to stay and play and he doesn't want to anymore.
Jeri, may I respond to Keni really quickly?
Yes.
Keni, I adore you, but I'm so team husband here. And it's not like when I was like, but he's right, but you said 5. You know what happens when you change our plans. So I just wanted to say that I have no support to give you. Technically, I'm giving him support. But because you're an introvert, was it Andrew and I, we were just talking about that. Like for him, that is like danger, Will Robinson. What is happening? It's 5 o'clock. I'm the same way. If someone says to me, we start at 5, don't let it be 5:01. I won't know what to do. I really will begin to shut down because I feel like it's an aggressive attack. It's an affront.
It's a betrayal.
It's a betrayal.
Advocate, and I will say that if I see my partner having a good time impromptu and it tends to go over, I'm there. Like if they're having a good time, that makes me happy. So let's keep it rolling,
Okay, so you're on Keni's side. I'm on her husband's side. Who else?
I'm on Keni's side. I'm
Yes.
INFP. I don't know what you are, Jacob, but I'm going to
INFP.
definitely go with the flow. If it feels right and we're having fun and I don't have anything to do later and I still have the energy and he's happy and I'm happy, well, let's keep going.
What you all are not going to do to Keni's husband and me is change this around. Keni made a commitment to us that we were going to get there between 2 and 5. It wasn't about enjoying something. Keni's trying to confuse us. She said we were going to get there between 2 and 5, and we didn't, because Keni didn't even get into the car until 4.
Okay,
so let's not do
compromise.
that.
Start
Let's
on
not do
time,
that.
but if you have fun,
Not that
the fun
late.
doesn't have to stop.
But,
If it feels good, don't stop. That's my motto from now on.
Oh, wow.
Co-sign
Like a
on Jacob.
250.
okay, all right. But then Keni, tonight when you explained to your husband what happened, you tell him he had one piece of support on this call. It was me.
Oh no, he has 2. No, he has 2.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Oh yeah. You need to get with the program, Keni.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel attacked.
Oh no, we don't want that to happen. Oh no.
Hashtag Team Keni.
I'm sorry. It's unresolved issues.
Yeah.
Just joking. Or even if I just swap out a piece of the plan, like sometimes I like to just get him and be like, you know what? Let's not, I know we're going to have Italian, but like, let's have Japanese. Let's go get sushi instead. He's like, wait, but you said.
It's a different continent. Hello.
He said we're going here. And then he'll like map it out because he's a map it out kind of person. He'll be like, but on this GPS, like we had these stops planned. So now like it's going to mess up the route. Like
I'd be like, but no, I had my mind on pasta, not on sushi.
Wait.
Like I can't get out of the pasta mindset. I already got the noodles in my head.
Kenny, I heard you, but your husband is resonating with me. Like, how do you not understand? This is not a lie he's asking for. What are you doing?
Do you know your type?
I'm an INTJ.
Oh, okay.
That's the J. That's the J in you.
It's the J.
Judgmental.
I'm super close on the
Jake,
JP.
we didn't have
I'm
to
like in the
focus
middle.
on it. What'd you say?
I'm
A little
like-
bit. Oh yeah, I'm regimented. I don't like change. I'm analytical. I can only be and I always say to folks, I can only be creative if there's a strategic plan on which to be creative on top of. So I need tactics, then I can be interesting, but I can't just go, let's free flow it. Let's just go commando on it. We can't do that. I need to have a plan. So when you told him again that he was going to have a certain meal, it is not unreasonable for him to have a reaction. Just wanted to go on record. INTJ.
It's fair. It's fair.
Got it.
Don't pee on my J expectations.
Oh, come on now, Andrew. Come through. Come through.
Oh,
Wow.
I think I just invented a new little slogan there.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
Jacob, you have a new sign to make to sit behind
I
you.
know.
Don't
Yes.
pee on my
Don't
J.
pee on my J.
expectations. Don't pee on my J.
Oh gosh.
Wonderful. So next thing is about silent moments and quiet time. So with your partner, just sitting in quiet, sitting in just silence, does not mean that I'm bored or not interested. Can't we enjoy each other's energy and company without talking? And we did have a question where someone asked, her sweetheart despises small talk, which I think all introverts do. And so, how does she determine what's worth talking about or chatting about?
Can you say that again, Jeri? That was a great example. I really relate to that.
Question is actually, how can you determine the things that are worthwhile chatting about, since your sweet introvert despises small talk? So I know for me, the small talk is just, with random people. How was your day? They really don't care. How are you? How was your weekend? That kind of small talk. But I would expect with a partner that, there's some ongoing discussions about whatever. So if we want to talk about work, it's because something I know about his job or he knows about me. But I really rather have just a deep conversation or none at all. And I don't know where the thinking or where the topic for this discussion comes from. Maybe something that happened on TV or something in my day, but I'd rather just talk about maybe, I don't know, just what's happening in life. And I think just being a curious person, questions come really, I'm very curious. So I always have some question and am hopeful that that person is open, and then we can have a dialogue about that, whether it's serious or something light and funny, like if Friday a movie is on or something and it just turns into us laughing about it and then talking about Chris Tucker or something. So I don't know about the chatting, and so I don't know how to come up with subjects. I don't know if that's what the real question is, but anybody have anything on that?
I mean,
When it
that's
comes to relationship, oh,
no, go ahead, Jacob. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, when it comes to relationships, I don't know if there really is such a thing as small talk. I just think that when you're in a relationship, you already kind of understand the person and you have formed a relationship based on those commonalities. And so I think just from a personality basis or respect, like there isn't really such a thing as small talk in a relationship. That said, during dating, you can really get a sense of whether you click or not based off of the conversation. If it is really just superficial about what do you do for work, how's the weather, where do you like to, do whatever, that is boring and we probably will not have a second date. But if we can really get into some like meaty matters and just, you can feel it, it clicks, and right away if the conversation is in depth and you're going to have a second date. I think that is maybe where you can tell more about like small talk being worthwhile with somebody or forget them.
I love that.
And I would say, I think in my marriage, we do a lot of deep conversations. We do a lot of like debate if something is in the news, if some we just have really deep conversations and we don't agree on everything. So that's like our conversation path. But to Jacob's point, like if you're dating someone and even in the beginnings, if you can't get to what you guys like or have in common and can have like cool conversation about, that's gonna hurt. Because I'm just even going back to my first date with my husband. We had a 3-hour dinner where we were talking about an article in the New York Times. So first of all, I was excited that I was dating someone who read the New York Times on a consistent basis. Then the second thing is that we had a substantive debate going back and forth on the merits of someone's position in the New York Times. And so, that ain't for everybody. That certainly wasn't for the 2 guys that I had dated prior to him. And so that was a connection that continues to carry on to this day because we're both very much into news and topics of the day. So
yeah. If you get your news from BuzzFeed, we're probably not a match.
It's interesting. I think I always remind myself 2 things. Don't catastrophize, stop catastrophizing, and stop overcomplicating the uncomplicated. And I think for me, a lot of the times, one, which is why in this virtual dating world, body language is so important. And even video is still just two-dimensional. It's the energy of looking at someone. So when you try a line of questioning, they may give you an answer, but what their eyes and what their body says tells you the rest fills out the answer as you're trying to use every piece of information to get to know someone. And I find a lot what I do in relationships with friends, but also certainly with intimates, I'll say to him, is this interesting to you? Is this something you want to, and I'm okay if he says not so much. I think part of it is really until you get to years of equity and relationship like Andrew and Christina and Keni, for the other three of us, I think it really is why I look at him when we're out to dinner, we have these conversations, and I go, is that interesting to you? If we're sitting here on a Saturday and I go, this happened, because I love pop culture. I can be as deep as, but I have a group of friends, we talk about pop culture, but then we will go into the depth of the Constitution and everything happening now, and we can do that. So there may be some pop culture things I find interesting. I do like a good BuzzFeed every once in a while, Jacob. There's nothing wrong with it.
I mean, no shade against BuzzFeed.
Okay. So I think part of it, I think it really is just asking him. As you do with most things, I think there's a fearlessness in the bedroom and out. What do you like? Do you like this? Is this interesting to you? Do you want more? Do you want less of this? I think for me, it's just the easier way to go. Trying to read somebody's mind, for me, I'll just get in trouble.
Beautiful. Our next one is about social media. So, you know, some couples like to have their pictures posted up on social media and everywhere. I think they think that's affirming. I don't know what they think, but I'm not doing that. So, like, what do you do with that if your partner wants to display your relationship on social media and post every time you walk out the door, every time you're sitting on the couch, every time you're eating dinner, and they want you to be in these photos with them because that's how they live their life out loud? And if you're the opposite like me, I'm not negotiating with that. So maybe I'm in the wrong. So how do we negotiate with that if your partner needs that and you don't?
I think it's just something that you talk about like up front. Like even just like if you're dating, establishing like, you know, ask for permission. Like I've dated extroverts and they'll want to like post or tag you in every photo or and sometimes I may not want people to know where I'm at, like I said I was going on vacation, I didn't say where.
Boom. What?
You're on the other side of the world and people think
you didn't technically lie to anybody.
Because I watch those couples too, like who share the same page. I mean, my husband and I, we couldn't even find each other on social media because our pages were so private. We had like one person had to change the settings on it. But my husband's also in cybersecurity, so he's just like very much like, I don't want a footprint. And so I'm usually the one that's like, I want to post this picture. Is it cool if I tag you or not? So I think it's more about establishing the boundaries and what it is that you personally feel comfortable with and how much of your life together you want to be available on social media. Because sometimes just based on the type of job or the industry you're in, it may warrant that you're more on, and for others, it may be like, I need to kind of be operating under the radar here. So I think just talking about it and just establishing those boundaries earlier on and just being very clear about what it is that you can and can't do or feel comfortable with is really like the best step forward. And then if you find yourself with a partner who doesn't really want to honor those boundaries, then that may not be the right partner for you.
I think I agree with someone who just put on the chat box, tag me and die. That may be my mantra. that may be my mantra as it relates to this. Yeah, I believe most things are on negotiation. That one for me, before there's a ring on this hand, at that point it becomes a negotiation. Anything prior, we're not doing that. That's not what social media is for me. Mm-hmm. I carefully curate what goes on my social media page. I do not. So yeah, no. Because what I do right now, the introvert in me, I quietly voyeur. And I can tell you when somebody's relationship with him began and when it ended by when pictures go away and when they stop telling me their every thought all day long on social media. I just
huge eye roll on Facebook when you see so and so is in a relationship with,
and then it becomes
oh my
complicated.
God.
And then it gets complicated.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it goes
Yeah.
back to being single again a month later.
Yes. Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
go down that path.
Don't do that. Don't do. And I don't think I want to date someone who's okay with us doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got married. That's a good post to
That's
have.
yes.
In a relationship. No.
Not so much, because I may not be in it tomorrow. Once I marry him, we're committing to this puppy deep.
Ooh, y'all are rough.
It's hard out here. You 10 years in to a happy marriage with a good man. It's hard out here for us.
And we are running out of time. I want to cover this one that's kind of related, and it's about the FaceTime. So it's about, those people, those friends or those partners who want to FaceTime you because they want to see you exactly right now. And so they don't know what you're doing. I would prefer that you just, if you want to send me a video, or either you text me first and say, hey, can we FaceTime? I want to show you something, because I'm not into that either. I don't think we need to FaceTime, but if you want to show me something, then text me, respect me and respect my boundaries and text me first. So how do you all feel about that? Somebody just FaceTiming your phone right now.
Getting hung up on.
Not available.
Getting declined.
Hurt feelings. Yeah.
People, my family do this to me all the time. I'm like, how many times do I have to reject this call? It's to me, that's the same thing as you knocking on my door.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like uninvited.
It's the same.
It's the same
Totally.
thing. I need you to tell me that you were trying to come. I need you to ask, can you come? Don't just invite yourself. And I feel like when you just call and try to FaceTime somebody without talking to them, giving them a heads up, offering that option, that's what it feels like to me. Like you're just showing up at my front door uninvited.
And I would do him just like my mom. We used to do visitors to our home when I was a child. You can see me staring at you out the window. But you breached the boundary. So I will say this to you. I've had before where it goes off by mistake, and I look and I just go, that wasn't supposed to happen. It's a breach. But like literally people can go, I see you, and I'm like, yeah, but we're not home.
Yeah.
So you don't do that.
It's an intrusion.
I'm with Keni on that. It's an intrusion.
My space, my time, whatever I'm doing, it's just an intrusion. Yeah. We covered the other one was about when we're at weddings, receptions, showers, parties, and we need pre-COVID, and if we disappear, I've done that because all of the music, the dancing, the activity, all of that, the peopling, talking, and all of that is a lot. So I may dip off in the lobby or something like that for 15 minutes. Does anybody else do that? And how does your partner deal with that?
Andrew's just at the bar getting drunk, the open bar. So
so Jen knows where to find him.
Is there free? Oh.
Open bar? Yeah, I'm there.
Magic.
Honey, I need some tip money. But the drinks are free. It's awesome.
Oh.
Yeah,
I was going to say poor Jen.
Fortunately, on this note, being in a relationship with another introvert, we both kind of reach that point together where, okay, it's time for some time away, I've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think once I get to a relationship where we're at that point, we're going to events together. By then, he tends to know, because at least once he has seen what happens if I don't walk away. No, honestly, but so, and because when I'm on, but when I need to be off, I need a break. And I know during an event, when I used to smoke, that used to be helpful because it gave me a reason to go away.
I was just going to say, back in the day,
it used to give me a reason to go away.
To have a few minutes to get away.
Yeah, don't have that anymore. So now I just go, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And if we've been dating for a while, he tends to know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But don't not do it. Your energy level. Take that time, because you don't want to become Cruella in the middle of a party with your mate.
Yeah. And how do you respond? We kind of touched on this a little bit, where 3 weeks ago you said, yeah, I'm down. I'll go with you on 7 o'clock on Thursday night to so-and-so. Then when Thursday night comes here, you're not feeling it. How do you respond? How do you let your partner know you just don't have the energy without them taking it personally, like rejection?
I think it's hard to control the reactions of other people. So I think it's a lot of times just how you deliver it and being forthright, even when you kind of first start dating or meeting each other, like just saying like, hey, I'm an introvert. This, I'm not always gonna want to do something when we have plans. I don't know if that even is fair to the other person, but I'm just kind of like, I would rather set the expectation early rather than to always be considered a flake and then to not get invited out after that. But generally speaking, it's like I try to deliver it with an alternative, be like, hey, I'm just not feeling it tonight. However, I'd love to make it up with you. Can we have coffee together one-on-one tomorrow? Or what's an alternative date that we could do or something like that? Always providing like an alternative rather than just being like, I don't feel like going out tonight. I'm shutting down our plans. See you later. That's not personally how I would approach it.
Yeah.
And I think so for me, it's when Thursday comes, would you mind if I didn't do this? And kind of just weigh the pros and cons. If it's like it's a thing for work and you need your spouse to be there with you to support you, then I'll probably just go ahead and soldier through. But if it's just something where he can be by himself there, I'm kind of prefacing it with that.
Or if it's like you're going out to meet a group of friends at the bar and like that probably isn't going to appeal to me on a Thursday night. You're like, hey babe, like maybe we can do dinner instead, or like let's grab dinner and then you can go out, or vice versa, but making it very clear, I'm not going to be going out with like 11 of your friends tonight, but let's do something the two of us before or after.
Love that. Okay. So introverts, please know that your partner may not understand, so you might need to tell them. I wrote down a few things that we keep talking about: negotiation, boundaries, communication. But I think the basic understanding was the basic things that we're looking for understanding. We are out of time. If you have unanswered questions, please send them to me at jb@hushloudly.com, and I will get this crew together and we will answer your questions as best that we can. I want to thank you to Andrew, Keni, Darrious, Jacob, Christina, for being open, vulnerable, honest today. Thank you, Cynthia, for being our stage manager and managing the chat behind the scenes, which you do so well. And I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day and happy Black Introverts Week, which ends on Monday. So everybody enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, stay warm. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeri.
Bye.
Jeri.
Thank you, Jeri.
Take care, everybody. Great talking to you.
You too.
So again, y'all introverts talk so much. It's 1:21. I thought we were
fun.
quiet.
It's only when you get other introverts together, when you get introverts together, they will talk a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny.
Especially the cool ones like us.
Yes, like us. Yeah. So
Thank you for inviting us, Jeri.
Oh, thank you.
We love you, Jeri.
We love you. Yeah.
Can't wait till we all get together and see each other and get on a plane.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss those.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. You were masterful.
Cynthia is
you're welcome.
is the biggest hype person ever, ever. And so when we were on the Year of the Introvert panel, Andrew, no one was assigned the chat. So I had just said, because I can't do that. I can't manage both, pay attention. And so I said, could all of us
Hi, Keni.
sort of
Hi, Keni.
I said, could all of us just sort of manage the chat? If you see something, answer it. And Cynthia just tackled it. And none of us had to do anything. And
Cynthia is like that cat gif where it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Literally what I tweeted 2 days ago about this thing.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, and she was pulling out quotes and doing shout outs and putting our email addresses and where to find us. So she's just the natural hype man. I just have to say that.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I'm very inspired.
she's the hyena.
Thank you. Andrew, you're really funny and I appreciate that. And also, whatever camera you have is incredible.
Yeah,
How is
it
it fading out the
is.
background?
It is beautiful, isn't it?
Well, I put a lot of time and research into figuring out my, because I do a lot of speaking online and I'm a magician and I use my magic in my speaking. So I actually have a 3-camera setup so that I can move into a different space for whatever kind of magic I'm doing. But this one is, it's a mirrorless Sony Alpha 6100 camera
Oh,
with a Sigma 16 millimeter f1.4 lens, and it's the lens that actually gives it the blurred background. And then I've got lights that I can control the warmth of them. I can control them from my phone, and I also have a little device here. That's my logo, but it's a device that, let me just, it actually allows me to change cameras,
Oh, cool.
change the warmth of the lights, change the what the brightness of the lights. And I've put a lot of time and effort into.
I don't mean to brag, y'all, but I do have the iPhone 6 Plus.
Holy smokes. Wow.
Andrew, you better write down what that is. I think that's what you need, really.
Yeah. I mean,
I take
Jacob,
it all, and that remote control device is like mind blowing. That's pretty cool.
Next level.
it's really, and I teach also, online. And so I'm able to just drive the bus with the touch of a finger. I don't have to do screen share or, messing around with anything. It's so simple. I've tried to make this, and I've got a separate monitor so that I can see the group in, in a big picture. And
It's like a TV studio over there.
Yeah, it's
it kind of
amazing.
is. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to figure all that stuff out. And I've had clients that have wanted me to advise them on how to set things up so it looks more professional for them.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, well, I see we still have Deborah, Jewel, Kimberly, Sherry, and Stacy with us. But we're about to sign off because we all need to decompress and recharge. So thank you all for joining us and for staying on. And we will be talking to you again soon. Everybody have a good Valentine's Day weekend.
Thanks, Jeri. Great job.
Hi, Jeri.
You
Thank
and
you
Deborah,
all.
Jacob.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.